and no one else, hard for me to stay. Swinging moods that change from calmness to deranged. Unpredictable. Unpredictable. You would see if only you hadn't taken things out of my hands. Only you never wanted to understand. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, back for another rousing version of the home game here. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing terrific, and I'm actually not in a lousy mood this week.
Wow.
Although the topic may create that.
It may sour the mood just a little.
It may. It's nice to know that, and we'll get into it in just a minute here. Nice to know there are groups out there that think like we do as far as training and running candidates and climbing up that ladder and doing that kind of stuff. But it does kind of depend on the group now, doesn't it?
It does kind of pretend. It does depend on the group.
It will pretend it depends.
Yes.
Yeah. Jay, I first off, of course, no clue who the what was that? Unforgettable?
No, that was a song Only by Anthrax.
Anthrax. Isn't that what they mailed to Schumer or something, or Leaky Leahy, or who got that? You got the old cup of Anthrax.
Yeah, something like that.
Hey, you got a few teaspoons in his mocha or something.
Right, and the band Anthrax, I know they went through about 2 days worth of, we're going to change our name because of this, and then they're like, no.
Oh, heck no. When you get something trademarked and things like that, what the heck?
Yeah.
Who were they going to be? The band formerly known as Anthrax, go through their Prince phase? Anyhow,
yes.
Jay, I have to bring up something that is irrelevant to what we do. Well, not irrelevant.
Yes.
Have you heard this case in Texas where...
Yes, I have. Let me go ahead, but yes.
The mom is trying to take their 7-year-old and change the son's gender.
Yes, you mean the child abuse case that's going on.
Well, yeah, where's Child Protective Services?
Well,
where the hell are they?
They're siding with the mother, apparently. Well, the judge is, so that they can't do anything.
There's a new ruling that the father is going to have a say or something like that. I think they might stop it. Legally, though, I'm not sure he can at this point.
Right.
However, a thought occurred to me because I was just so grossed out reading this. And this woman, this mother needs some like I've said before on the show, I'm not a big mental illness guy, but there's something I'm rethinking that the more stories that we cover.
Right.
What if this mother decided to chop, they were going to cut the kid's arm off,
right,
or cut an ear off, or gouge an eye out or something? Mm-hmm. I mean, she would probably be charged with attempted murder. Maybe not that, but something like that. But if you want to, I'll just put it mildly, change the gender, take a scissors and
you mean you want to mutilate the kid,
right? Tell Mr. Johnson not to show up for work,
right?
Or whatever you want to call it, cut off the Willy Wonka. All of a sudden, that's supported by people. What is going through people's heads?
Nothing.
Look, what an adult does is one thing, and I don't understand getting a gender change. I don't want to understand it, but the what adults do is what adults do. I think there's only so many laws you can create on people's behaviors.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a child, doesn't get a choice.
Right.
Okay, the child's opinion is not being consulted here, and if it is, it's coerced.
Yeah.
No 7-year-old knows what a transvestite is, or a drag queen, or whatever. Okay, so
no, not unless their parents are like watching stuff they shouldn't be.
True. Yeah. You're right. You never know what
taking them to the story time at the St. Paul Library with the transvestites or drag queens.
Yeah, that was the one from Crocodile Dundee. That was the one there. I think.
No, you didn't hear about that?
Oh, I heard about it.
On St. Paul, yeah,
right.
Story time with a drag queen.
Yeah, and had a criminal record, I believe, too.
Yeah,
as well.
It's all over the country.
Yeah,
but they're doing this.
It's
sick.
Way to go. Twin Cities once again. So anyhow, a case of mutilation going on in in Texas right now.
And this is Texas. I mean, this isn't New York.
True, but there's areas of Texas that are as quote unquote progressive. I mean, maybe not to that extent, I didn't think, but I mean, there are pockets down there where it is Houston, Austin, where it is not Lubbock. Okay, so, I mean, it's not like the rest of the state, and Texas is a growing state,
right?
Very much so. Probably the largest growing state in the country.
Well, this is Dallas area where this was
I
happening.
think so, yeah. And Dallas is, I think more of a purple area, but and it's like a lot of places. The further you go out, the more it changes. But
right.
Just kind of just a gross me out story. I mean, I'm just amazed that.
I just leave our kids alone. How about that? They keep pushing this stuff on them, and I think we'll get into this some today with our topic. But I mean, even in schools, I mean, leave our kids alone. Teach them math. I mean, except that's becoming racist. Like maybe we'll cover that in a future podcast. But
I got something to say about that real quick, too. But go ahead.
But just math is racist. The books that we read are racist.
Huckleberry Finn is racist.
Yeah,
Laura Ingalls.
Everything is racist.
Laura Ingalls was a racist.
Where people of, say, lower income or whatever, people of lesser means maybe aren't getting as high of scores. Like they don't have a ton of other things going on in their life, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's the fact that books are racist, math is racist. But let's
creating
teach,
victims.
Let's teach them about you can change your gender if you want to, and there's 140 genders. I don't even know. I want to be a blue buffalo today. I'm gonna call me a blue buffalo.
Yeah,
it's
isn't that
ridiculous?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. You talked about grades being racist.
Yeah.
Colleges are now exploring inclusive grading because this is colleges,
right?
Where you're supposed to earn your way in,
right? Let's go spend $40,000 to not learn.
Yeah, and I would say,
what a joke.
I would say, and this is,
yes.
I mean, I'm just going to mention this real quick, but if you are an employer and somebody gets a degree from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, University of Michigan, American University, of course, that's in D.C.,
yes,
and Boise State.
Yeah.
Okay, not exactly the colleges maybe on that list that you'd expect.
Right.
I would question their college degree. Okay, and I'm somebody without a degree. Jay, you're somebody with one.
Yeah.
I know what it takes to get one, which is particularly why I didn't get one. And, but I have a lot of respect for people who follow through on that and get that degree and use it and earn it.
Yeah.
The premise of this is that A's, B's, and C's reinforce white language supremacy.
What?
Yes, that is. Boise State, in fact, is doing an entire workshop on this, on inclusive grading. So if you've got a 15, 16-year-old and they're considering college, you may want to avoid these schools.
Yeah. I would say avoid all of them, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, colleges don't necessarily prepare you for what you're supposed to be doing, unless you're right, unless it's specific.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the trade schools, to me, are where it's at.
Heck, you don't even need that. If you want to be a journalist, read lots of articles and then blog a lot, and you'll learn it. You'll get good over time.
Yeah, you will.
know?
I mean, what do you learn at the School of Journalism? I mean, what?
How to be a communist.
Yeah, how to be an advocate almost, and that's really not what a journalist does. So, anyhow, on to the main event here. We'll skip over that here. Jay, there are groups out there who they're not as good, okay, but they. We were created before this group, so I'm going to take credit here because people try to copy us a lot.
Yes, they do.
And education has been trying to not only monopolize actual education, and I know we've done a lot of education shows recently, but we didn't do very many our first a year or two on the air.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things that expanding our horizons here, and there are groups out there trying to get teachers to run for office. Mm-hmm. Now that sounds innocent.
Sure.
But of course, there's always an agenda behind it. It's not get a teacher; it's get a certain type of teacher with a certain type of view and insulate public schools from the ups and downs of the economy or accountability.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's an educator is not going to go to St. Paul or Washington. The whole point is to go there and insulate education. There are movements. To increase the automatic funding and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what Education Minnesota would do if for John Q. taxpayer. But there are other groups doing this too, Jay.
Yeah.
E for E. Now remember in Agenda 21 we got the three.
They're missing one somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I think equity may be the one. Educators.
Oh no, they're all over equity.
Oh yeah. Educators for Excellence.
Oh.
A group created in New York in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And they are there with one of their primary goals is to do kind of copy us.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, we're worth copying.
I think so. I like what we do.
I mean,
I think it's valuable.
I mean, the original is always the best. I mean,
yeah.
How many wrestlers have tried to copy Ric Flair or Andre the Giant, and there's only one?
Right.
An imitator never does as well as the innovator.
Right. The Road Warriors were always my favorite. Yeah, the ones that came after, like Demolition, that were just cheap knockoffs.
Well, I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Oh,
there.
Come on now.
Nothing
was as cool as the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, but I mean, Smash. He was a Minnesota guy, so I mean, there's Barry Darso, so Robbinsdale High School. So I mean, I suppose, and I mean, when they went to the WWF, Vince had to give him a new name, so he was their product.
Right.
Couldn't use the Road Warriors. So,
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's you have a good point though that the innovator is always the one. But here's this group out from New York, trying to push educators into. That's not all they do.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're all over all the buzzwords and everything that's into education now.
Right.
But I just wonder how many people are aware that groups like this are not only doing what we do, but because one of the things that we push here is people to be individuals.
Yes.
I want people of all backgrounds. I don't want. I mean, think about it like this, Jay. Mm-hmm. Are there truck drivers anywhere organizing to push truck drivers into office? Are there engineers anywhere trying to push them into office? Are there lawyers, or maybe there is, trying to get lawyers into office?
That probably is.
Probably.
So many are lawyers.
It probably does to a certain extent. I mean, there's the bar association grades and all that.
Right.
But what is it with teachers?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not enough that they have a union. It's not enough that they have endless funding by the public. It's not enough that they have a monopoly over choice, pretty much by design.
Yeah.
And now they got to take over legislate. It's not enough that they advocate, and they spend my tax dollars doing it. Okay, where do you think their union dues comes from? Well,
absolutely. It comes from our
me.
tax dollars. Yeah.
So, I mean, it is endless. This education, quote unquote, push. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many groups do you need doing this?
Well, I mean, all of them, I guess. They all kind of work in concert. And what they all do something just a little bit different. And but you've got the same culprits that are behind a lot of this. The NEA and stuff like that at the national level.
Well, there's the other one too. There's the other major union that I can't think of, the Teacher Federation or something.
Oh yeah, Federation of Teachers. Yeah.
So there's
NFT.
Is that what
Or
it is?
AFT.
AFT.
American Federation of Teachers, yeah.
Isn't that the firearms and tobacco? That's
No, that's, what is that? Yeah, doesn't matter. Yes.
yeah, and I want to say here too, like one of the things that one of the problems that I have had is how many things the schools are taking over that have nothing to do with teaching.
Mm-hmm.
The social engineering, the co-parenting,
Yep.
this treating a child as a whole, which I still don't understand.
Yeah.
But they're all over this kind of stuff. You can go to e4e.org and kind of follow along here. Their mission, their vision, their core values. It's all kind of the gobbledygook that you hear in a lot of these, things that we have covered previously, Jay. And school districts are, once again, copying each other, and so on and so forth. So, and then they give the BS that they're pro-school choice, which is garbage.
Yeah, that is garbage. They say, and we'll get into like their views later, but I know that they want to have equity when it comes to availability of good schools. Well, if they really wanted that, they would have choice.
Well, if they really wanted that, the equity would be in the eyes of the consumer.
Right.
Not being told
they would be able to choose the better schools, which often are your charter schools, your private schools.
Well, and here's the thing: everybody has a different standard to what a good school is, or,
right?
Or what
for some, it's what's close because that fits their work schedule or whatever.
Well, and I mean, look, the public schools can't be everything to everyone, and I think that they in their pursuit of trying to do that, lose sight of the big picture. Mm-hmm. But I think that I want to. What direction do you want to take this? Because the Minnesota chapter is really what is irking me.
Yeah.
Because what is in there is scary.
Right. Well, we definitely need to talk about that. I think that we also need to make sure that people understand that this is a group from New York, a small cadre of teachers from New York that are telling these chapters, here's our goals, here's our mission statement, and it doesn't matter where in the country you're from. We want a chapter in your state to be pushing for teachers to run that agree with us to run for state house, state senate seats.
Well, yes, and on their page it is said their declaration in 2010 by a small group of teachers in New York. I don't know how small, 5, 10.
I doubt as small as our group.
Yeah, yeah.
We're looking at each other.
Yeah. Declaration of Principles and Beliefs. Mm-hmm. And tell me if you haven't heard this before.
Okay.
Ensuring all students have equal principals and teachers. Where have I heard that?
Employ school choice.
Yeah, there you go. Adopting and maintaining high standards that challenge and support all students with rigorous, engaging instruction. Huh. Now, what PR firm did they get that from?
Oh, exactly.
I think 10 people came up with that crap. Building safe, inclusive schools and classrooms.
And this goes back to our little opening snippet where by pushing the transgender agenda, that's why there is an increased number of kids that are dealing with this issue. And we see a lot of suicide, and we see just kids that are confused because they keep
adding to
pushing this.
Well, and inclusive. I mean, when I hear that, basically, it's what they're basically saying is that white people are the problem.
Well, yeah, that too. They are going that route as well.
They don't say it, but I mean,
it's across the spectrum of races and across the spectrum of sexual orientation and gender and
assume that honor the rights, identities, culture needs.
Hey, where did we hear that before? Social emotional.
Yes.
When we had our podcast just a few weeks ago.
That's right. the referendum up in the
Zimmerman area.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, you have, providing access to early education. Of course, once again,
Of course.
the kids born, grab them from the womb, don't even let them pee, and bring
And
them
as
in.
long as they don't die
Yeah.
in that period, as long as you don't kill them from the period that they get from like the mother
right,
to the class.
particularly for
Yes.
those in historically undeserved communities. Underserved.
Oh,
I'm
underserved.
sorry.
Yeah, that's a little different.
I have a problem with that too. The quote unquote underserved communities spend way more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where's that money going?
I don't know. It was towards administrative costs and teacher pay and benefit increases and
New buildings,
new
and
buildings,
new
yeah.
iPads.
Right.
I mean-
Smart boards.
I make a statement.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between equity and equality.
Yes.
Okay, equality is, judging people, and I hate to quote a great man, but I'm going to quote a great man.
Mm-hmm.
Not judging people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Right.
Equity is, okay, your ancestors weren't treated very well by a generation 10 generations ago.
Right.
So we're going to punish certain groups. And I'm going to say this right now. That has created no results that I have seen anywhere. I have not seen anywhere where this equity stuff. I care about kids learning. I'll be blunt. I don't care how they feel. I don't care if they're gay. I don't care if they're confused. I don't care if their parents are divorced. I don't care if they're at risk. I care about them learning.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was created, to be the school needs to prepare them for that, and give them the tools to be successful in that.
Yeah, but not do it too young. I mean, I
No.
think there's a.
You're not tracking kids.
Oops, I mean, it's career path,
Yeah.
college readiness. Oh, and you can see the soccer moms in the front row when they hear that stuff just start to sweat. They love it.
Well,
You know,
now
but-
that there's not going to be any grades, I guess they're all ready.
Yeah, they're all ready.
They're
I
all
mean,
ready. Hey, that's good.
We'll have no grades, but we demand results.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. But this focus on equity, funding schools fairly with sufficient resources distributed based on student need.
Yeah.
Is systems that hold school districts and states responsible for the progress of all students. Well, how's that working?
Not well at all.
Yeah, we do that. You don't like the collaborating with all stakeholders, including students and families, as well as labor, civil rights groups, civic and community-based organizations. Hey, that's us.
Hey.
I'm on these boards. I'm on this board.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm the unsilent majority. That's what I am.
From Rocky. I'm the unsilent majority, big mouth.
I mean, again, it's a lot of the same gobbledygook, but I mean, these groups who has the ear of our kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, either we are the big, I mean, this group also states that educators are the most important thing in a kid's life.
Yeah.
The most important.
They're not.
Not your family, not God,
Right.
not,
The state is God, Andrew.
Right.
That's.
there's
it
no
right.
question they are.
Get it right.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that in and of itself, to me, is
Right.
and how many, I don't know, I just, I mean, I'm looking at this, just shaking my head.
It sounds good, but it's all just educational speak. It's professional educrat language, Yet we're not allowed to give kids what they really earn.
Right.
When I was a teacher in South Minneapolis, oh, you're failing too many kids. Well, they're not doing the work. Doesn't matter. They're actually doing and make it look good.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. That's not transparent. The kid earned an F. He didn't do a blooming thing when he was in the class.
Well, I used to have a college professor that told me, I'll never forget this. And being a kid, you never think of it like this. He goes, I don't give grades. You earn them.
Yeah.
So, you have a bad grade. You do bad on a test. Don't come up to me. You know,
Right.
you earned that D plus.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's all part of how we've lost sight of education is something you earn. Education today is seen as a right. Here you go. Here's an education.
Right.
And yet that's just another thing we have backwards.
Well, absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. You know, I create these platitudes, these declarations, but I mean, it's not, hey, this student A here is different than needs. They have different goals. They have different interests. They have different talents. Instead of teaching to the individual, we're just going to group everybody together, cram everybody into the big old cookie cutter, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk,
Yeah.
ka-chunk, and
One
push
size-
them on out the door.
One size fits all.
Ugh.
Well, I'll tell you, supporting the whole student in welcoming schools. Now, I've never been to an unwelcoming school. Have you?
Well, that depends. As a parent or as a child?
Okay, forget you for a minute. I'm sure there's schools out there that wouldn't welcome me right now.
Yeah,
but-
probably not.
Okay. Students need supportive environments to help them grow academically and develop their social and emotional skills. As teachers, we recognize that a negative school climate, overly punitive discipline, and a lack of focus on supporting the whole child.
Yes.
We can't support just the upper half of their body. We have to do the whole child
Whole child.
from reaching their full potential. And again, a lot of this is about student behavior,
Right.
and that we have to create a climate where there's too much disparity on discipline.
Well, we all know. I mean, from what we've talked about here on the show before, we've got to cut down on suspensions and expulsions. We have to figure out ways to mainstream kids into the class that maybe don't belong there, so that we have this volatile environment of kids at way different learning abilities, you know.
Well, yeah, nobody can feel bad. I mean,
Right.
ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about feeling bad.
Well,
So, I mean, once again, we're going to
yeah.
we're going to treat people unequally again based on their race or something else like that.
Yeah. Well, and was it a couple of weeks ago when we did the show about the referendum, and we had Ann on, that they were talking about they'd gotten rid of valedictorians?
Yes.
What? I mean, how do you get rid of valedictorians and just take away a reward from people who have earned it?
Right. I mean, it's basically saying if you achieve something, how long does it? I mean, being a valedictorian is an incredible achievement.
Yes.
I mean, it's just incredible. It's something everyone. I mean, I went to a very large school. Well, Cooper, I went to a very large school. We had several valedictorians, maybe like
Really?
5 of them. Yeah,
Wow.
quite a few. And I mean, my graduating class, I'm going to take a guess, was 600 kids, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's less now, but I mean, so to be, in the top 5 out of 600 is, over 4 years is one hell of an accomplishment. And,
Yeah, it sure is.
and everybody was valedictorian. Was a friend of mine that I knew. I mean, not good friends, but
Right.
they all got the recognition at graduation that they earned. They all got to speak. I mean, I can't imagine taking that away from somebody who's earned all those A's.
Yeah.
You think they got it by accident?
No.
Yeah. By the way, they weren't all white men either. I'd like to say. By the way.
No, I know. I came from a much smaller school. I
Yeah.
think our class size was 133.
Well, you didn't get running
125,
water until
125.
you're in 11th grade.
Well, I had running water. Come on. The suburb of Duluth, we had running water.
Oh, did you?
Granted,
Okay.
where I grew up, I had a well and a septic. I didn't have city water, but that's,
Hey, I like that.
yeah,
A good.
that's what you get. 2.5 acres on a dirt road.
Hey,
Yeah.
you had less fluoride than I did.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh,
But, so I remember the valedictorian of our class. We had one because it was a smaller class, and she earned it, and that now we're talking about taking that away from people. So I don't know.
And who does that benefit?
Nobody.
Yeah, I mean, think
Nobody.
about it.
Some may say that benefits the people at the bottom, but it really doesn't benefit the people at the bottom, because all of a sudden you have this muddle in the middle where nobody stands out, and so the people at the top don't have any reason to achieve, and the people at the bottom don't have anybody to look to as an example to achieve, how to achieve, what to achieve, anything to push themselves to get better. It hurts everybody.
Yeah, and by the way, this is rough to read, but there are recommendations on ending racial and discipline disparities.
Yes.
By the way, we're at e4e.org. Did I say that earlier? I think I did.
I think so, yeah.
After they have their action guide, which is the usual gobbledygook, create an equity or school climate team. Create two teams. They can bowl against each other. How about that?
I like that.
Work with school leadership to secure necessary resources such as access to data or specific meeting time and secure buy-in. So we're going to get a bunch of data and label people.
Yeah.
Review student engagement and school discipline data. Conduct a holistic, not with a W,
Right. No.
analysis of school programs and what is currently being done to address racial disparities. Mm-hmm. Learn from successes. Oh, the best practices kind of thing.
Yes.
Or we copy somebody else. Oh, you're gonna love this one, Jay.
Okay.
Establish a vision. Set SMART. Specific, measurable, achievement, realistic, and time-bound.
Yes.
Goals and measures for success.
Success in life.
And of course, nothing in there about student achievement, of course.
Oh, no.
We don't care about that. What matters is everybody feeling inclusive.
That's it.
Inclusivity.
Do you feel like you belong? Then we did our job.
Yeah. I mean, who cares if you're working at
Dumb as a
Wendy's?
box of rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it is enough to just barf. By the way,
Yes.
you'll be happy to know, too, some of their action that they're taking, citing on issues. And you tell me what any of this has to do with education, Jay.
Okay.
I mean, they've got their policy positions. Hang on, I got to find it here. And it's just a cadre of how do I put this? How do I put this without sounding super hyper partisan or
They're all socialists.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Socialist policies.
they have an advocate page.
Yeah.
Take action. Call for a swift and bold action to increase diversity in our teaching workforce. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because one of their premises here, and I'm paraphrasing, is that you have to have minority teachers so they can relate to minority students.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you saying that a black teacher can't teach a white student? If you're saying a white teacher can't teach a minority student, wouldn't the same be the other way around?
No. That's just crazy talk.
Oh, okay. So if the white population is increasing in a school, should we increase the white teachers so they can relate to the white kids? No, of course not.
Oh, you're causing trouble today.
By the way,
yeah.
If you want minorities to become teachers, they kind of have to graduate high school first. I mean, half the minority kids in Minneapolis don't graduate. How are they going to become
half the
teachers?
kids in Minneapolis don't graduate.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just minority, but maybe it's just half, period. But I mean, point being, I mean, that's a very long-term thing. I mean, it would take 20 years to increase that. Tell the Trump administration to end the policies impacting migrant children.
My word.
I don't know that these kids are even in schools, but apparently, every kid's a dollar sign.
Right. Yeah. Well, and just let me read that headline again, because that doesn't sound partisan or one-sided at all. Tell the Trump administration and the Congress to end cruel policies impacting migrant children. The word cruel kind of tips your hand, I think, what you favor. And it's not cruel to have a country, to have borders, to enforce those borders. Maybe Obama shouldn't have started putting them in cages.
Yeah. Well, again, that I'm still lost as to where that has anything to do with, what a kid scores on the math test.
Right.
Tell the Senate, protect our dreamers. If anybody counts here illegally and comes here illegally, make sure they get to stay.
Yeah.
Tell your legislators, support efforts to reduce discipline disparities. Here's a question. Why does Congress have to do something?
I know. These are independent school districts.
Yes,
right?
They're supposed to be.
Supposed to be, yeah.
The Trump administration has failed to lead. Well, what's he supposed to do?
Well, at least that isn't partisan either.
And you know what? These people whine and moan and bitch anytime the federal government does anything. Yet they're calling on the federal government to do a million things.
Yeah.
And then they rip on Secretary DeVos. What is this? Title II must be fully funded? Where else what?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to die, right?
Right.
Now, we have to get to Minnesota, Jay. We have to get there.
Yeah, let's take a look at the
because Minnesota has their own chapter of E or E. And I'll tell you what, I think they copied. Do we have press releases?
Like us?
Yeah.
Community Solutions?
Yeah.
We have when we've needed to communicate something out to other press outlets.
Well, then they've been reading. They've been reading us.
Yeah.
That's what I think, because in Minnesota, they are, like we said at the top here, using this group to recruit teachers to run for office. I mean, that is a big, big thing here. This Leadership for Equity in Action pipeline. LEAP.
Yeah.
They're leaping, Jay.
Makes me want to leap
Huh.
off a tall building or a cliff.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that, Jay. Come on. We got another 5,000 shows to do here. You can't do that. So this LEAP group.
Yes.
Where the hell is it? Why can't I find it? Did I send it to you? Oh, I got it now. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Across the country, educators are leading the charge for student-centered policy change. The inmates will run the asylum, I guess.
Yes.
Writing policy recommendations, speaking at school board meetings, rallying alongside students and families, and the kicker, running for office themselves.
Yes.
So, LEAP was created. The ultimate goal is to elevate the teaching profession. Yeah, whatever. We know that's BS. And I just love their leadership group here.
Yes.
Because they check those boxes. All the boxes, Jay.
Yes.
This includes 17 individuals from schools across the Twin City metro area. Actually, they're just in Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Right, all of them.
Except there's one token person from Mankato. Right?
Yes.
Somebody.
That's true.
I mean, these people, I can barely pronounce their names. But they're 80% female.
Yeah.
What about the other 25 genders? I mean,
well, that's the thing. They didn't get in. Well, I guess they didn't say. 80% identify as women. They may not be women,
Okay.
but they identify as women.
All right, I was just making sure.
The other 25 maybe don't identify as men. I mean, that's where my mind would go. You could have like a striped unicorn, a brown bear, a tea kettle, and
yeah. Kangaroo or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
And 70% identifying as persons of color. Is white
But
the
they
color?
may or may not be. I mean, is
Yeah.
that like Bill Clinton being our first black president, or is that?
Why? You know, I can relate. I'm your man. I'm the first black president.
I mean,
there ever was.
I'm your woman.
Yeah.
I'm identifying as a woman today.
Whatever you want, whatever you'll vote for, that's what I am. All right. These education leaders aspire to leadership positions ranging from union leadership to city council to state legislature and beyond.
Yes.
Over the next 6 months, they will be embarking on a journey together, building knowledge and skills to serve higher office. Join me in celebrating these educators, which I will not do, but join me anyway.
We've got one Lyndon Carlson. Isn't that enough?
I guess not. But look at this group, okay? Minneapolis Public Schools, St. Paul Public Schools, St. Paul Public Schools, St. Paul Public Schools, St. Paul Public Schools. And then we got one person, Pamela Femwright, who's an elementary teacher in Mankato Public. So they got their one token out-of-state person. Of course, they have their behavior health program person. I mean...
Yeah, Minneapolis Public Schools, St. Paul, St. Paul, St. Paul.
No, Jay. This is from across the Twin City metro area. That's what it says.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
So, I mean, you know, once again, we have from across the spectrum of Minneapolis and St. Paul. You know what they have? I figured it out. They got equal from each side of the river.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think that's what they meant. And, of course, you know, groups like this would not be there without funding from somebody.
No.
Oh,
everybody operates like we do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
And I look on their page for that, and I see foundations. How many times have we talked about these? We got to investigate some of these.
We had a whole podcast devoted to foundations.
I mean, and companies that are shelling out money. The Walton family. No, not the 70s sitcom. The people who own Walmart.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo. Boy, I might have to not bank there.
Yeah.
United Way.
Well.
United Way is... Pardon?
That doesn't surprise me.
I don't know who the Stewart Foundation
The Amazon
is.
Smile Foundation.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
The Spectre Fund at the Boston Foundation.
Annenberg Foundation.
All right, you're starting from the top. I'm starting from the bottom.
That's good. We'll meet in the middle, like the students here in Minnesota after they get through this program.
Yeah, or Diamond Rio, one of the two.
BC Gamble and PW Skogmo Fund of the Minneapolis Foundation.
What's the St. Paul Foundation? I wonder.
I don't know.
There's a bunch of individuals on here. Robin Hood. Is that a person or a?
He's apparently stealing from the rich and giving to the schools. The Barry
Robin
S.
Hood
Stern-
did not steal from the rich. He stole from government.
Right. Exactly.
That's been co-opted.
Absolutely, it has. So that's a good clarification. The Barry S. Sternlicht Foundation.
Little German in there. Little.
Yeah.
What, the Minneapolis Foundation? McKnight Foundation, of course. We've talked about them before.
The Birdie Prow Family Foundation. Best Portion Foundation.
Oh, that's a good place to eat.
Yeah, Best Portion.
Yeah, they
that
got the
sounds
best.
like a good place to eat, unless. Oh, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Oh, wow. I can't believe the Clintons aren't on here.
Well, that's because there was no. They didn't need any access.
Oh, yeah. Well, we all know the Clintons just, donate used underwear and write it off on their taxes.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're kind of useless.
Bloomberg Philanthropies.
Well, we all know who that is.
Bloomfield Family Foundation.
Your buddy.
Blue State Coffee. I wonder what their money goes for. Well, we know.
Gold Hirsch Foundation, the Fund for a Greater Hartford.
Wow.
Hartford, Connecticut, I'm guessing.
Brahms Family Foundation.
Fairfield County's Community Foundation.
CAA Foundation.
Huh.
California Community Foundation. California Education Policy Fund. The California Endowment. Matching grant from the Capital Group companies.
Carnegie Corporation in New York.
Karl Marx Foundation. Karl Marx Foundation.
What?
No. It's spelled CARL instead of K and MARKS instead of MARX. Is that a play? Is that like to try and hide that it's communist? The Karl Marx Foundation. That's not real.
It can't be.
The Karl Marx Foundation. Get out of here.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it says. Look at it. The Karl Marx Foundation. CARLMARKS.
Okay, it's named after a young entrepreneur named Karl Marx.
From the 1850s, maybe hung around with Frederick Engels.
1925.
Thank goodness. Carnegie Corporation.
Yeah, I said that. I think I caught up to you.
All right.
But I mean, a whole list of.
Sorry, I was a little incredulous over Karl Marx.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're not seeing other people there that are spelled differently. I won't say any names.
Yeah, like Ilhan Omar. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Spelled differently. Yeah. ELLHN. No. But you see, folks, what we're up against here, I mean, what your kids are up against, we've talked about education a lot this year and in previous podcasts. You have to know what's being taught and what these goals are of trying to divide people among race, punishing academic achievement. I would argue that they are trying to insulate education from being held accountable to any standard whatsoever. They'll talk about measurable goals, but they won't achieve them, and there's no consequences if they don't.
Right.
So, how many generations of kids are we going to let go by, before we fix these issues? They aren't getting better. If anything, they're getting worse.
That's true. In their campaign section, I thought this was interesting. Inequity in our schools. And it goes on to say that Minnesota is home to some of the worst opportunity gaps in the nation. Really, is it?
Yes.
Really,
actually.
is it? No. You're going to tell me that there's not a bigger income disparity like some places in the South?
Or achievement.
Well, this is opportunity gaps.
Oh, okay. We're calling it something different.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're telling me.
I bet that's their big progress thing. They called it something. It's kind of like when Barry Switzer coached the Dallas Cowboys and the Cowboys were having trouble in the red zone.
Yeah.
You know what his idea was? To call it the green zone. See, red means stop, green means go. That was his big idea.
I'm sorry, but in Minnesota, especially in Minnesota, you have all the opportunity in the world. You can't say there's an opportunity gap.
No,
there might be a taking initiative gap. But if you really want to accomplish something in this state, there are so many opportunities. There are big companies to work for. There are small companies to work for. You have everything at your fingertips to start your own business. If you want to be in agriculture, there's farmland. You can start helping a farmer out if you live out in the rural areas and learn the business. And then
yeah, how many Fortune 500 companies are there here? Despite the business climate, that's not the greatest.
There's a ton. And you go out into some of these suburbs and see the size of the houses out there. You tell me there's an opportunity gap? There's a ton of people who make enough to be able to afford big houses and nice cars. And I'm sorry, but I've been out in a lot of these suburbs, and I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of people of color out in these suburbs living in these big houses, driving these nice cars in Minnesota.
Yeah, and how did they get there? What's their formula? That's what we ought to do. You know what we ought to do? We ought to find persons of color and they ought to be role models for those who are not achieving or haven't achieved their full potential. The untapped potential out there, Jay, I think for minorities in particular, is so untapped. I mean, if we just unleash it, I just wonder, how far some of these folks could go in life.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to say that people who live in poor communities don't have a tough go of it, because they do. Yeah. They have a lot of hurdles to overcome, but it's not impossible. And they need to have the right environment constructed around them, but it isn't by coddling people, and it isn't by teaching them that you can identify as whatever you want. No, teach them that whatever they want to become, not identification-wise, but profession-wise, human being-wise, that they can become that.
Yeah, we do the opposite, though. We make excuses. We lower expectations. We tell people if they don't achieve, it's okay because they're nobody expects them to anyway. It is just I don't think anything outside of complete and total school choice, and I've said this before, is going to eventually solve this. And you know what?
Right.
It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Real reform takes a long time. But let me tell you what, E for E is not how we're going to get there.
Oh, no.
E for E will push us further into the black.
It's more of the same. It's more of just this namby-pamby approach to education where it's all about the feel-good mumbo-jumbo. It's all about mediocrity in the middle.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody stand out. Don't make the standards so rigorous that either the people who are troublemakers get in trouble or the people who excel can spread their wings and accomplish something. It is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little passionate about this, but
well, you being a former teacher, you've seen it on firsthand from both ends.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a perspective. And you're not lockstep with the BS that's going on, which is, you escape, being into education and not ultimately being like forced to buy into everything.
That's just not me.
Yeah, well, I know that's not you.
I am somebody that will stand for what I believe, and I'll speak my mind, and I'm not one to be moved. I'm the one that would. I mean, this isn't even like political stuff or whatever, but I remember being in corporate America, their acronyms and their corporate speak, and I would just sit there and roll my eyes and be like, oh. I would look at the people that nod their heads in agreement in the meetings. I'm like, you don't know what they're saying. I don't know what they're saying. You don't know what they're saying. Stop it.
I went through that.
Yeah.
Very much so. And let me tell you, it was difficult.
I would sit there in meetings and just want to find the nearest place to shove my head in a toilet and flush.
I used to try to find the nearest beach so I could stick my head in the sand.
Oh. It was painful. So yeah, I've always had that mentality. I think some of that comes just with, being a musician and a songwriter and growing up in the period that I did, where musicians, at least at that time, had the appearance of wanting to stand up to power, and really, in the end, they're all Democrats. Because when the other party's in power, they just nod their heads in agreement anyways.
Well, there's some exceptions
really
to that,
not standing up to power. There are some, maybe. I'd like to see a little more of standing up to abuses on both sides, but
standing for cause is not partisan.
Right. Exactly.
It shouldn't matter who's in charge.
Stand for honesty, stand for, treating people right, stand for integrity, and
yeah, not for giving money to Africa.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I have my issues with the whole I respect people like Bono and people like Paul McCartney, but I think that they're what they're doing is ensuring things aren't going to change.
Actually, Bono has changed his tune quite a bit, and has said that without teaching them, like socialism just doesn't work, and you have to have capitalism, and these people have to learn how to start businesses, and like
Really?
microfinancing is kind of a big deal over there now.
What it starts with is not giving their corrupt governments millions of dollars.
The governments over there are terrible.
Yeah,
You know,
but I mean,
just like that in a lot of places, a lot of third world countries. It's not because it's Africa. It's because third world countries are third world countries because the government steals the money.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about like this whole Ukraine thing going on, which I still don't really get.
Yeah.
But is anybody asking why are we giving Ukraine, $1 billion or whatever it is?
Right.
Where's that money going? Who's it going to? You want to put strings? You can put 1,000,000 strings to it, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So lost in all of that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're going into off the deep end here, but I mean, it all kind of comes back to the same thing. I mean, we spend more and more on schools. Schools take on more and more, and yet the results are getting worse and worse. And the people in charge have no idea how to fix it. Let's just be honest, Jay.
No, they don't.
They have no idea what they're doing.
That's true, and it seems to get worse and worse, and we keep putting the same people in, and it doesn't get any better. It gets worse, and in fact, I would say, like even in cities like Minneapolis, the elected leadership gets more and more radical the longer we go, and things continue to get worse and worse, but they're not willing to say, hey, this doesn't work. Maybe we should try something different.
Yeah.
And they're so entrenched in all of this socialist garbage, and it just doesn't work.
Well, they're in love with their ideology, and whether their ideology is what ultimately leads to successful adults is irrelevant. I'll tell you what, it's just scary what in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, this could all look like. I mean, remember, like I said at the beginning, kids don't get a choice.
Right.
Okay, kids' heads are getting filled with crap. And these are, when you and I are retired, and when I'm living up in northern Minnesota fishing every day, okay, people who are in school now are going to be running the country.
Yes.
They're going to be running businesses, maybe, if they ever learn to do it. They're going to be buying houses. They're going to be having kids of their own. Mm-hmm. They're going to be embarking on careers. They're going to be running for office. They're going to be, and what the hell has their head been filled with?
Yeah.
So, again, e4e.org. If you want to read up on your own, Jay, you and I don't read to people. Okay, our audience does their own research.
Yes, that's true.
We provide the tools, but you take it where you want.
I put the links to the articles that we reference right in our blog,
right,
so that you can go search that stuff out.
Follow along. Nobody can accuse us of making this up.
No, we source everything. So
look out for LEAP,
yes,
which is the local group trying to push educators at all levels. Remember, they said city councils.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the entree to move to what? A higher office.
Yes, it is.
Like we've been saying, they are copying us. I want royalties. I want the Gates Foundation. I want part of their money. I want all of it.
Yeah, it's funny how these groups get all of this money from all of these places, but over on our side, we don't get that,
Well,
so we just keep putting one foot in front of the other,
That's right. What's that song? Revenge of the Nerds. That's where it is.
I don't know.
Don't you remember when Poindexter was trying to vacuum the curtains or something?
No.
No, yeah.
No, I don't. Sorry.
Never mind.
So yeah, this group, they're out there. They're doing this. They're working hard. They have money, so they get to do this every day. Go and register people to vote, and they also say getting people into appointed offices, which is also something we preach.
Yes.
So for those of us who don't like this, who don't like what's being pushed in our schools, who don't like what our kids are having to endure, that we have to constantly be keeping a watchful eye out because we don't trust the school districts, we don't trust what the teachers are going to teach, not to say they're bad teachers, but the content, the things that our kids are having to learn because that's what's being forced. If you don't like it, then you need to stand up and you need to do something about it. That's the only way. And so what do? Same thing that this group is doing, same thing that we have been preaching for most of the last 11 years, Andrew, is that you got to get on an advisory board, whether that is with a school district, a city, a county. You have to do it. That is entry-level governance. And you get on one of those and you're able to advise these groups and tell them why you feel a certain way about the things that they bring up. And that's super important. And plus, if you're ever thinking of possibly running for city council or anything higher than that at some point, you need to have that background. Gives you a place to speak from experience, and knowledge, and gives you a platform of expertise from which to run a campaign. So you got to start there, and then you can move through the ranks if you so choose. But even if you don't, it's important that you're on those advisory commissions. So we can't enforce that enough.
Yeah, many cities right now are taking their applications for their terms starting next year.
Absolutely. So check your city websites, and if they don't say, give them a call or stop down to
Maybe
City
I should
Hall.
check out Plymouth's. Should I get on there? A Google search on me might disqualify me, though.
Well, you got in Crystal. Maybe you'll get in Plymouth.
That was pretty controversial when I got on and off.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe.
Well, that's the way it goes. But there is a lot of room. So here's what you guys need to do: get up off of that couch, that good old rented couch with a spring sticking out of it. Get your butt over the computer.
1 out of 3 cushions.
You can even do it on your phone. You don't have to get off the stupid couch. Get on your phone and go to the city website and see what they got. And if there's a way to fill out an application online, do it right there. Or else go down first thing in the morning and on your way to work or on your way home from work, and fill out an application and do what's right for your community. I mean, too long we have been sitting here watching the other side file in and get appointed and file in and get elected, and we just stand by, and then we wonder why everything's crappy and we don't like what's going on because we don't have any skin in the game. Well, that's your fault, and it was our fault for a long time too. And we decided to do something different, and if you've decided to do something different, we thank you. It is no longer your fault. We got to do something with it, though, and it's not enough just to complain on Facebook. It's not enough to sit and rant and rave in front of the TV and chuck cans at it, and
just turn off MSNBC and it should
or
cut that down.
CNN or any of it these days. But you get what I'm saying, right? I mean, you gotta get involved, and so if you want to get involved and you don't know what to do, or you see something happening in your city and you need some help getting some started, give us a jingle. Drop us a line. You can email us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you out because it's all of us together that is going to help us get over the threshold of what we need in this state. And it is doable. It is doable to get to 20,000 butts and seats across the state at the local level.
Sean Connery on Entrapment said it the best.
Yes.
It's impossible, but doable. There you go.
There we go.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That was
not
pretty
quite
good.
my Dr. Phil, but that was not bad.
Not bad. Not bad at all. All right. There you have it. You've learned about this group today, and it's incumbent on you now to do something with this these educators for excellence and be the yin to their gang, so to speak.
That's right. There are no graduates here at the Community Solutions School for Local Government because the learning never, ever, ever, ever stops.
That is because
I get a new degree every single time that we do a show.
The other side doesn't ever stop coming up with stupider and stupider stuff.
Yep, more stupider.
All right, folks. There you go. That's all we got. We're going to be back 1 week from now with another fantastic show. So don't go anywhere. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, lock your doors, whatever you got to do. But We love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work. Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught up